All up here, Mustang Lake, right here off of San Antonio Bay. I've talked about this area before, but right now we've got this little cold front that we've had that's pushed through here on us and dropped the water temps and dropped the air temps. This is one of these great locations that you're going to really want to pinpoint during those few days, as long as that water temp starts to get down into the 50s. Like I say, this time of year, your primarily type of structure that you want to be over is going to be mud, grass, clump shell. That's your structure that you want to be around and on. This is adjacent to a deep water area because you got the ICW that runs across the mouth of it. You can work all of this. Our tides, again, fluctuating quite a bit, so those are always main things that you want to keep in mind on when the area that you're trying to fish, and what your highs and lows are happening, and where they're at, where the median low level water is starting out for that particular day, and what you have coming. So you want to make sure when you get into these areas back here that you have plenty of water to fish it. Number one is the bait source. Make sure you have your food plot that's there for the fish to want to be in there. Of course, then again, what I was talking about, the mud. Of course, it's a 1 or 2 degrees temperature is a big deal for fish, so that's why you want to be over those mud areas during this time frame, or during those cooler, colder days when that water temp is starting to drop. So you'd probably want to start your edge out here on a little bit deeper water off the ICW, and there's areas up and down this where you can park your boat. You can get out and you can wade out to that edge, to that deeper water. Just be aware of the barges that come in through there, because they will suck water out of there and push water back in on you. So make sure that your boat's nice and secure when you fish these areas. You get out there on that drop edge earlier in the mornings if you want to fish that time frame, or if you want to wait a little bit later till your water warms up just a hair, depending on what kind of weather pattern that we're going to have in the few days that are coming. Work these areas well. Like I say, work this. If you're going to be out there early, work the deeper edge early and see what happens as far as if you can locate some fish somewhere up and down that edge. If not, then get up here on the back side of Mustang and fish the back shoreline, fish all this all the way back around. You've got some lakes that are on this side of it. It's a little mouths that drop off into it. There's lots of clump shell that's in there, so be aware of that. If you're going to fish in here, it will trip you up if you're not careful, and that can ruin your day, especially if you fall on top of that kind of stuff. So just understand that there is a lot of that's in there. You got really good mud that's in here. It's going to be pretty soft, but it's not unmanageable. It's depending on what your skills and what you can deal with and what you can handle. It's a great little area to locate that. You've got riprap and stuff that's down here close to the ICW, but it's protected on the inside. So if you want to fish that, and you got barges that are pushing up and down depending on how much traffic that there is. It's a great area to get into. You can locate some reds that have been in here. There's been some good trout that's been caught out of this area, and occasional flounder. Primary baits that we're using. We've been using the down south original size and burner shad. Been sprinkled in a few of the supermodels like Supernatural, Purple Rain. Victoria's Secret has been very good as well in that particular water, because it can get dirtied up on you. So it's a really good color to throw. Again, the knocking tails in both the heavy metal and greenback, with a little bit of sprinkled in with watermelon red, has been a great flavor as well. Again, corky season's full swing. A lot of success with the floaters and the fat boys and the soft dines. Double D's has been another one that's been used and had pretty good success with that. Primarily throwing plastics, as far as just like you say, the down south and the knocking tail, was sprinkled in there with a little bit of marker 54 jerk shrimp and the mullet run as well. So when you get that little bit less bait activity that's in there, you go to that mullet run that marker 54 makes, man. The size of it's really good. You got a 3 and a 4 inch there, so it gives you a nice little body profile. It's really reminiscent of what the Fat Boy presents as well, as far as that same type of profile. So it gives you just something else, and it's got a nice little curly tail on there that's really resilient and really good. It stands up to a lot of bites that you can catch fish on. Terrific bait. So there's lots of options there for you. You just need to decide what you really want to do, what you want to throw, how you want to approach these areas, and how these fish are reacting to you. Again, majors and minors have been our main point of emphasis when we've been into our fishing day, to make sure we incorporate that into our day. We've had a lot of good production in and around those time frames, so make sure that you're doing that and paying attention. Again, the weather patterns are kind of everywhere, so make sure you're paying attention to what your wind's doing, what your weather's doing, and see where we're at with the moon phases. We are transitioning toward a full moon. So always keep that in there because we're in the wild card days as we talk about that at the moment. So take that into consideration when you're putting your box together and what you're going to take with you on the water. From Allen's Bight, all this back area, these back lakes that are back here, you can wade this whole back shoreline all the way down. Give yourself an opportunity to fish in some of these back lakes. Duck season is now over, so you don't have to worry about those duck blinds in these areas. There's a lot of those duck blinds that you were having to take care of or have to fish alternate areas, so you don't have to take into consideration anymore. So that season is over and done with, so you can approach some of these areas and not have to worry about that. Work these shorelines, man. All this area back in here, this little back lake mouth that's right in here in the back lake. It's a great little area. We've caught some decent sized fish out of here, scattered redfish, scattered trout. We haven't pulled any flounder out of there. Every once in a while we'll come across a black drum, but mainly the trout and redfish in some of these areas. You got nice bottom that works in here. You got some depth that's in this. There's been a decent amount of bait that's pushed in and out of this area here because it's protected, especially from the north. Those are always things that you want to take in consideration whenever you're going to fish in areas. What your wind direction is, potentially what your wind direction may be throughout your fishing day, depending on what type of, if you have a front that's starting to bear down on you, or even in transition times after a front is passed, if that wind's going to blow from a different area. Always take that in consideration, what's going on with the wind, so you can fish protected shorelines, or if you have the right amount of wind, that you can fish a windward shoreline that pushes bait up on that. And all that all goes into consideration on your fishing day. So make sure you take that into account. This whole shoreline, this whole edge down this on the inside of Allen's. Work the outside as well. It's back on this other side, you can fish that. So you can get a windward or leeward, depending on the side and where your wind's coming from up in Allen's. That's what makes it really effective. You can come on down to the shoreline, fish this area down here all the way down to the ranch house, to their little seawall that's down there that goes into their cut. All this out here gives you opportunity. You got depth of water. You've got, it's not super great soft mud, but it's enough that will hold fish in there. Now, the one thing is, though, if you have a nice northwest wind, this whole thing in here will get beat up pretty good. So make sure, again, that's why I was kind of pointing out to make sure that you take in consideration your wind direction, what's going on. So if you have an east, southeast, south breeze, this whole shoreline in here can be really good. Other side of the Bass Place up in here, the ranch house, this whole shoreline here in front of the runway all the way down to Blind Pass. You can fish all that area there on both sides of it. Now, be aware you got the deep cut that runs through it, and then, of course, it'll shallow up on you on this opposite end. That's where your super flats begin. You can work all that, man. You get lots of opportunity. You've got multiple areas that's got great potholes. You've got deeper water that's in there. You've got deep potholes. You've got deep grass. You get a decent amount of bait fish that's working up and down the shoreline, and it just gives you lots of opportunity up and down here. Main things that we've been throwing back in this area here have been for me personally, have been the Paul Brown Originals. That's one of my favorite. That's just the best, in my opinion, all-around bait as far as what they make that. So if you love the floaters and you love the sinkers of the Corkies, throw them. I love the Originals. Then again, we're throwing the down south original size. We're throwing the burner shads a lot. Again, I sprinkled in a few of the supermodels that were here because, again, we're in wild card day, so you've got lots of different opportunities for different kind of bite each day. It's kind of be all over the place. Weather temperature or water temperature, what your weather's doing, again, your wind and what's going on, all that factors into what your fishing day is going to be, what you're going to throw. The jerk shrimp, again, is another been good bait that's around here with the amount of grass it's working in and up and down the shoreline. You can bounce that off those deeper grass beds in and around that, and you can trigger some nice bites from some decent fish. Like I say, we've caught some nice trout that were in the slot. We've had a couple that were been just a little bit over, the 23 to 25 inch has been pretty good, but not a lot of those. Redfish has been mostly what we've caught back on this back shoreline in this area that's been shown. So just take all that into consideration. Again, majors and minors, biggest thing that you need to make sure that you take care of and put that into your fishing day to locate your fish. Swan Lake area, all this back shoreline back behind the little islands that separate Copano from Swan Lake, the back shoreline has been pretty good back here. I love wading this back area, again, throwing the Paul Brown Originals. It's been a super bait for me going this winter so far. Because they super versatile, man. You can work it like a top water bait. You can work it as a subsurface bait. You can work it as a suspended bait. You can just straight retrieve it. You can do a lot of different things with it, and it's extremely effective. Profile-wise, to me, it gives you the best of both worlds. It's just a little bit thicker, just gives you that little bit smaller profile than what the fat boys do, floaters or sinkers. So your opportunities, in my opinion, at least the results for me, have been very good. Also, the soft dines have been very good for us, especially in these types of areas where we can really work those baits. If you can see or know the areas where your potholes are over those grass flat areas, you can really work those baits good and allow them to sink down into those potholes, and you'll get opportunities at fish. You get this little bit deeper water that's back here. Remember, this area that's back here is very soft, that's in and around those little backside of those islands, so make sure when you're wading back in those areas that you're aware of that, because some of that mud can get super soft and you're up past your knees, and if you're uncomfortable with that, then I wouldn't try it too much. Stay closer to the back shoreline. That area back there is very manageable with not a problem whatsoever. Continue to work this area all along here. We found bait that's back in this area. We've got great grass, good shale that's in here. You got drops and edges that gives you everything that you want. You stay pretty well protected for the most part, especially from a southeast breeze, even from a west breeze. Now your north or northwest or northeast breeze can beat it up a little bit, or maybe but you can tuck in behind those islands that are back here, and you can stay protected. Come on out to the edge of this what I call the Swan Lake Flat. Is you can get all in that area here and work this drop, especially if you got cooler water or cold water in the mornings, depending on what our temperatures are going to be here over the next few days. You can work that edge, and that's where you may want to, if you want to throw the original Paul Brown and let that thing sink off that deeper water, or if you want to throw the XL soft dine or the Corky Fat Boys sinkers in this area here, that'd be a great option. Again, the down south originals and the knocking tails have been very good for us, especially in these types of areas like that, working that little deeper water to shallower water, till we're waiting for the shallower water to kind of warm up for us and locate some bait that's getting to be kind of active. So just an area to keep in mind. It's just a great spot. We talk about it in the summertime a lot, because when it's warmer, those fish will retreat off that flat. When it gets warm and they get off in the deeper edge, it's just the opposite during the wintertime. You want to start out a little bit deeper water until the shallows warm up, and then those fish will start coming out of that deeper water. That's why it's always important to find you a big old muddy grass flat that's adjacent to some deeper water, and you'll have some opportunities throughout your morning or your fishing day, depending on how long you're going to fish. Again, weather patterns are going to be kind of a little bit everywhere over the next few days. Your majors and minors have been very important for us, and I can't stress that enough, to make sure if you're not incorporating those into your fishing day, then you're doing yourself a disservice. You're missing opportunities that can increase your catch productivity. So again, always incorporate that into your day, and just make sure that you're taking care of that. Like I said, we found fish in these areas, but the most times that our most highest production time frame has come around the majors and minors and finding that bait source.